Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the CELEST PHOENIXCALL. This is the latest IEM from CELEST. For those of you that don't know, CELEST has been around roughly since 2021. They are a sister company or a company under the umbrella of Kyocera, who also has Queen of Audio. And they made some noise when they initially appeared in the scene of the HiFi scene, sorry, because of the launch of what they called the SPD driver, which was a square planar driver. It was basically their take on what a planar driver could possibly be. It wasn't a traditional planar in the sense of what we usually know of a planar to be, which to not make a long story too long, usually a planar has its voice coil etched across the whole surface area of the diaphragm, and then backed on either side by magnets, which then interact with that said voice coil to produce sound. The SPD has a voice coil which is basically just glued flat onto just one section of onto the center section, let's put it that way, of that diaphragm, and then again backed up by the magnets to then interact. And anyway, they were brave enough, I guess. They were capable of launching something different, of bringing something different to the table. CELEST initially had the Gumio, which was a 1+1. In that first version of that SPD driver. The reason being that the SPD driver in that first version was not capable of a very good extension past 4.5K. And then later on they launched the Pandemon, which was a version 2 of that said driver. And in that version 2 they improved the magnetic system. They improved the interaction of that magnetic system with the diaphragm. And basically what that meant was that the driver was now capable of being a full range driver and reproducing the full spectrum of frequencies without the need of a BA. Now they've launched the PHOENIXCALL. And what is the PHOENIXCALL? The PHOENIXCALL basically is a tribrid. It uses a 7mm dynamic driver. It uses two custom BAs for the bass mids and mids highs, and then uses the newest version of the SPD drivers, which are now circular and kind of follow more or less the same implementation of the planar, of the micro planar drivers used by C Audio in the Rinco. So this is the newest version of that SPD driver, which is basically now round and approximates itself more to what a planar driver is capable of doing. And planars, again, for those of you that don't know, are known for being very capable in terms of upper mids and treble, in terms of their extension up top. That's what they are really efficient at doing. Anyway, this is the box of the PHOENIXCALL, very much along the lines of what you usually see with Kyocera and its products, always very nicely done, very presented in a very classy manner, and actually compared to the previous two models, the Gumio and the Pandemon, a big upgrade, because those two actually kind of have they had I mean, I don't want to sound bad, but they kind of had a childish vibe going to them. It kind of looked very it was a little bit underwhelming, let's put it that way, because the actual IEMs themselves, especially the Pandemon, was a very nice IEM. Anyway, this is the box, brings some literature, it explains what PHOENIXCALL is, and it's basically it's a Chinese legend of birds flocking together. So they go through what that is. The IEMs themselves came over there. Inside this box we have a selection of tips. Let me just see if I can get it out here. Here we go. So we have a selection of tips. We have some wide bores and some narrow bores. I'm actually using, okay, these are the wide bores, yeah, the black ones. Let me just open them up so you guys can have a quick look. Okay, so these are the wide bores. All right. I measured it with the wide bores actually, just to see how it was, and it measured fine. No, nothing out of the usual. And these are the narrow bores, which I am actually using the narrow bores on my PHOENIXCALL. I'm using the medium-sized ones. All right. Anyway, like I was saying, the tips. decent in the sense that I measured them, like I said, and they actually measured quite nicely. It brings a case which, I mean, this is not a criticism. I would have liked to have seen a nicer case, I'll be honest. A slightly bigger case to start with, because the IEM with the cable does struggle to fit inside here. So a slightly bigger case would have been nice, okay? The quality of the case itself is nice, it's just small, all right? And then the IEM itself. As for the cable, it's actually quite a nice cable, unusual in its appearance, and it measured very well in its parameters. I actually measured it up, and I was quite surprised. If I have to make any criticism on the cable, it is only that I would have liked to have seen it be modular, but again, this is just a minor detail, nothing really major. As for the IEMs themselves, beautiful, small, beautiful. They've got two versions of colors. I chose this one, which is kind of a pinkish and a blue for left and right. You can see the drivers all inside. Beautiful. Honestly, it's a work of art. You got the faceplate there with the birds flying around and so on. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful IEM. Absolutely stunning. Fits perfectly. Because of the way that the nozzle has been designed, I get a nice deep fit. I can't really. Honestly, when it comes to the physical aspects of the Phoenix Call, I have absolutely nothing to say. Fits beautifully. It's not heavy. It's not fatiguing to wear. The cable is flawless in its fit and how it fits around the ear. Everything very nice. Honestly, very nice. Very well done. You can see that care was taken. Anyway, this is the IEM. So physically, in terms of its appearance, build quality, which is flawless. Everything is top notch. Very much. In accordance to what is the usual by Chimera products, or what Chimera has usually gotten us used to in terms of its products. Anyway, let's now talk about what we want to know, which is the sound, and give. This is not. I'm not gonna try and choose a winner here. But rather I'm trying to have us. Or in this case, have you guys understand where it sits, with some of the IEMs that I have here. Some of them are, some of them are maybe known by some of you. Some of them are unusual in the sense that not many people know about them. But anyway, what do I then have here? I've got a Jazeer, not the 41T. I've got the Flame, which is it's basically the same. I could have had the Flame here. Sorry, I could have put the 41T. I just brought out the Flame for the sake of just being different. It's exactly the same IEM. It sounds the same. There's no difference. Trust me. I've got three flames. I've got three 41Ts, and I've got one Flame. They all measured the same. They all sound the same. They all are exactly the same IEM. Okay, so. I have here the Flame, the 41T. You guys will understand what I'm saying. I have here the Chimera Urd Tribrid, which is one of my favorite IEMs. Sometimes I get asked what are my daily drivers, or what are the IEMs that I usually like listening to more often. And when you have so many IEMs, inevitably, I guess you can't just stick to one. But there are those IEMs which you gravitate towards the most. And funny enough, some of the IEMs that I have in front here of us today are IEMs that I gravitate towards quite a lot, and the Urd is one of them. I just like the way that this tribrid has been tuned. It might not be the most technical tribrid out there, but I just like the sound that it has. It's very musical. Obviously the Phoenix Call. Next to it, probably one of the nicest IEMs that has come out of Pennon, of the Pennon stable, the 10th anniversary, and an IEM that I listen to a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. I just absolutely, I just like the way everything was done here. The bass, the mids, the highs, everything was done flawlessly. Next to that is an IEM that gets some love from some people, which appreciate it for what it is, and gets then some comments which I just don't understand. It makes me question. I mean, everybody's entitled to their taste. Everybody's entitled to liking or disliking. But some of the comments that I have read about the Geek World GQ 100 are so so devoid of any substance that I just don't understand if those people making those comments actually really truly understand anything about earphones. But anyway, the GQ100, another tribrid. So tribrid on the Oud, tribrid on the Phoenix Call, tribrid on the 10th anniversary. This is again a tribrid. It uses 3 dynamic drivers. One dynamic driver handles the bass, the other one handles well, actually it's a little bit different. One of the actual physical drivers, it's a dual diaphragm, one handling the bass and one handling the sub bass. The other one is a separate driver which handles the mids. And then we have 2 BAs helping out those 3 dynamic driver diaphragms, let's put it that way. And we still have then 4 piezoelectrics helping again out the way that everything is just put together. So a very smart implementation, in my opinion, and the best Geek World I have heard up to date. Okay, and then finally on this corner here, the AudioSense AQ7 Insight, which was an IEM that when it initially came out, I was a little bit disappointed. Well, and the reason was because my one had a little issue with it. This one is a substitute that I subsequently got, and it works perfectly. And the Insight, I think, suffered mainly from one issue, which was the fact that it was priced completely out of context. You know, I get the feeling that sometimes some of the tri-fi companies forget that we are in 2023 or 2022, you know, because this kind of started already last year. And what I mean by that is that they forget to adapt the prices to the reality of the market. You are now capable of getting IMs under $100, which are performing like $400 or $500 from years ago. You know, and so the original AQ7 was crazy money. I mean, $500, if I'm not mistaken. It was absolutely ridiculous money, made absolutely no sense. And the reason why it wasn't successful was precisely because of that. You would have thought that with the AQ7 Insight, the new version, they would have learned their lesson, but no, they still thought that no, we're going to carry on pushing the price. It's a OnePlus 7. Sorry, OnePlus 6. We have to push the price because that's what. No. You have to make the price of the IM be in accordance to what it is capable of doing and what it is capable of playing. And you don't have to worry so much about what the other brands are doing or if they're pushing the prices or not, because the reality is this. The AQ7 is a fantastic IM, but it was never worth its $450. Never. It didn't have a sound that was on par with that kind of money. Okay. Anyway, let's get into this straight away and try and not be here ranting for too long. The Phoenix Call. What's the thing that attracted me the first, the main, you know, the moment I heard it the first time? 2 things. I was absolutely blown away, first of all, by the quality and the amount of bass I was getting, because I knew it was a 7mm driver, only a single driver. I was just absolutely blown away. I wasn't believing I was hearing a 7mm driver. This is not to say that 7mm drivers aren't capable. No, you just have to look at the IE900, IE600, and those are the perfect examples that a small driver is very capable. IE600, I mean, you know, I think needs no introduction. And Canera themselves in the Lockheed, they use a 7mm driver for its top of the line. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 7mm driver. So small does not mean that it's not capable. Obviously, it has to be a very well-designed driver. And definitely, by the first listen, you know straight away that this driver inside here, not only is it a good quality driver, but it's been very well tuned. And then the other thing that immediately grabs you is how detailed it is. It is. You notice that planar detail and detail retrieval capability and you know all the twinklies and the sparklies, and it's absolutely blows you away. It really does, because it is unexpected. And by unexpected, what do I mean? Well, there are IMs that obviously you expect. Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be amazing. This is going to sound wow. And then when you actually listen to them, you kind of okay. There are other IMs that you don't expect anything, and then when you listen to them, you are very pleasantly surprised. I've had quite a few of those lately. And then there are IMs that you don't know really what to expect, because you know they are capable of doing something good, but you don't really know what to expect. And that was a little bit what I had that feeling with regards to the Phoenix Call. I knew it was going to be a capable IEM. I knew that they had done their work. I knew they took their time in tuning it. They didn't just rush it. But at the same time, I was kind of like, okay, let's just see what comes out of it before I have an opinion formed about it. And I couldn't have been more pleasantly surprised. Absolutely amazing. Bass, it's clean, it's fast, it's detailed. Plenty of extension, there's no lack of bass there. I'm not saying it's a bass head's delight, no, it's not, but very, very high quality. It's got more bass, for example, than what you have on the AQ7, and this is a 10mm driver. Okay, when you look at the graph, and when I'll show you the graph, you'll understand. You see a big, thick bump on the bass, which is kind of along the lines of what you get on the QE Ears Quartet, and also of the 10th anniversary. But that bump makes sense because we are talking about a 7mm driver, much like when you see the way that some 12mm or 13mm drivers are tuned. You see them kind of looking very lean graphically, but when you listen to them, you say to yourself, oh my God, this has got tons of bass. What's going on here? And that's exactly the case. You look at the graph and you think, oh, this is going to be a mud fest. It's going to be, no, you couldn't be further from the truth. It's clean, it's detailed, it's fast, it's super engaging, nice mid-bass slam, beautifully executed. Mids, faultless in my opinion. Maybe just a tad little recessed in the male vocals, a tad recessed, maybe, but in terms of female vocals, absolutely amazing. It's got a relatively early pin again. It peaks at about between 1.5 and 2. It peaks around that area there, which you would think, okay, a little bit forward. No, honestly, I didn't find it to be forward, or I just found it that the male vocals just don't come out with the same shine as the female vocals. Okay, instruments in terms of their timbre and their tonality are, in my opinion, faultless. I can't really, guitars have got a nice twang to them, cymbals. I mean, you listen to, for example, a song which I usually like to use, which is Up and Up from Jeff Ryan, and that sax there, that's a good song to kind of see if it's been badly tuned, that sax, if it's too aggressive, if it's too much in your face. Faultless. For me, it does it perfectly. There's nothing I point against it. Okay, highs, clean, detailed, no sibilance, no fatigue, nothing. Honestly, for those that really like high frequency and details, I think this will be a delight. You will have a ball with this IM because it is super detailed, super detailed. Okay, in terms of its technicality, soundstage, imaging, detail retrieval. Soundstage, it's wide, it's tall, it's deep, it's got a nice sense of space. Is it maybe a false creation because of the way that the planars are being used? It could be that the way they've tuned it gives you a false sensation. But I listened to enough songs, trust me, I listened to a lot of songs to be able to ascertain if it was that, in fact, that was happening. And no, I have to come to the conclusion that no, it's. You mean, you listen to "Use Me" by Bill Withers, or you listen to "Chain Lightning" from Steely Dan, you listen to "Acoustic Planet" from Craig Shakwiko. It's fantastic in terms of soundstage and imaging. Fantastic, nothing to be said there. Detail retrieval, very good as well. Super detailed, like I said, all the twinklies and the sparklers and everything you can possibly want and desire. And then resolution as well, nothing to be said. Honestly, the price, from what I understand, still hasn't been totally defined. But for the price, which I believe will be the price, there's really nothing that I can fault it technically. And even if the price was, let's say for the sake of argument, $300 or $400, even if this was a $500 IM, I honestly would still be hard pressed to really find something to point out as a negative point, as something that has been negatively, done or not well executed. No. How can I then now compare it with the rest of the IEMs here? I'm going to start with the AQ7 on this side first, so I can get where the side ones first. AQ7 is here because it's also got that kind of early pin again. It actually, this one peaks close to 2, this one peaks at around 1.5. It's also got that early pin again, kind of that QDC and Noli VX vibe going. But over here, with the AQ7 loses out to the CELEST Phoenix Call because you notice more the BA timbre. And here, I didn't. I find the very few times that I noticed a little bit of BA timbre, and the very few times you could pick up on that metallicness. Let's put it that way, of the planar execution. And I'm talking very, very few times that I could pick up on it. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't anything that I was kind of, okay, what a pity. No. While over here on the AQ7, you pick up on it, and it ultimately gets to a point where it starts becoming a little bit fatiguing. And I think that the main reason for that is not really that section or that part of the spectrum is being badly tuned, but mainly because the bass is too lean. It's very much sub-bass focused, but it lacks a lot of sub-bass, of mid-bass, and it just makes everything sound very thin, which is not what happens there. Okay, so overall, in my opinion, and again, let me just state, this is not to kind of, this is better, that's worse, no, but in my opinion, the more complete tuned IEM that will be more versatile with more music genres is definitely the Phoenix Call over the AQ7. Okay, as compared to the 41T or the Flame or whatever you want to call it. In terms of bass and mids, very nice. We know that this is well executed. Where this IM hasn't gotten as much love is, but people were expecting it to be a little bit more treble, energetic, and no, it was tuned to be relaxed. It was tuned to be unfatiguing, and of course, you know, a little bit of the technical aspects will suffer. So if I again compare the two of them, technically. That is a superior IEM, the Phoenix Call. In terms of the rest of how the bass, the mids are executed, they're very comparable. I would actually go as far as saying that the Phoenix Call is basically a 41T that has better treble and better technicalities. Otherwise, the general kind of vibe that you get in terms of the sound is very good. And I mean, and the 41T, those that follow me know that I praise the 41T very highly. It's a very capable 1+4 IM, very, very capable. As compared to the Geek World, the GQ100, very similar, very, very similar. The Geek World is just more energetic in the above 1.52K area than the CELEST, and what that ultimately can mean or can perhaps bring about is, for me personally, doesn't bug me. I find it more than bearable. I actually even compared it slightly to the Noli VX. I said it kind of very much was a way of getting a vibe of a Noli VX at a much cheaper price. In terms of if what you want is detailed retrieval and a very clean clinical reproduction of sound, the GQ100 is perfectly. Yes, it does trade that out for not being so it will be more proficient in that aspect and less proficient in being more musical, where the CELEST then does beat it. In terms of musicality, the CELEST is more musical than GQ100. In terms of overall detail, retrieval, and capabilities, they are very comparable, with that being a little bit more energetic, so perhaps a little bit more detail. Although honestly, I really didn't find any major amount of songs that you could really pick up on it. They're very comparable on that. It's just more a question of timbre and tonality. This has a timbre and tonality which is a little bit more satisfying, a little bit more pleasing. It's a little bit more inviting. This one is a little bit too clinical. Okay, that then leaves us here with the two high rollers. Let's put it that way, because I mean this is close to $200. This is $250. The geek world is 200, so these three approximate themselves possibly to what the Celeste will be costing. The Oud is 650 and the 10th anniversary is 500, so obviously significantly more expensive. With the Oud is I mean, technically it loses out to the Celeste, period, end of story. That's the reality. I mean, if I actually have to say which is possibly the one that has the most balanced technical capabilities out of all of these two will come out on top. The 10th anniversary and the Celeste will definitely come out on top. That's not saying that the rest aren't good. The rest are good, but this is technically good, but a little bit on the fake side, the audio sense. This is technically underwhelming. It's fine. It's acceptable for the price. This is technically very good as well, but it will possibly lead to some fatigue if you don't, if that's not what you really admire or are looking for. While these two, technically, they have the right balance. Everything is just very balanced out, not only in terms of the frequency reproduction, but then as well in terms of the technicalities. And the technicalities of the Oud fall behind because of that, okay? It's very musical, fantastic bass, fantastic mids, super inviting. It's got a real nice, organic, old school kind of sound that draws you in and keeps you there for hours and hours and hours. But it is not technically a monster. No, it isn't. In that aspect, the Celeste is far superior. Better soundstage, better imaging, better detail retrieval. Everything is superior. And when you consider that this has ESTs, you question yourself. You question yourself, honestly, it's just the way it was tuned. It's not really questioning yourself. Maybe that's not the right word or to use or the right comment to say. This has just been tuned to be like that. End of story. Okay? As compared to the 10th anniversary. The 10th anniversary is a better IM. I mean, bass, mids, treble, it is better. Fair enough, it's $500. It shows how it better be better. But is it a big, huge, dramatic difference to the Phoenix Call? Honestly, no. You'll have to really spend some time with them, have the proper source, and then you'll start picking up on the differences. Where this one will perhaps start running out of steam after we reach certain levels of volume, and for example, one of those some of those genres are going to be genres which are a little bit more energetic. That one still carries on going. Sunrise from Larry Carlton, both of them execute that song fantastically, but you just feel that the 10th anniversary is able to scale better and keep its composure at higher volumes. This is me honestly really nitpicking, because it's like I said, we're still not sure about the price. I've heard 150, I've heard 170, I've heard $200 for the Phoenix Call. I don't know. What I do know is it's going to have a very competitive price. And if you take that into consideration, then you can't fault it. You cannot fault it. Obviously, you become more critical the higher the price is. So when you're listening to a $2,000 price tagged IM, its margin for fault or for not performing well is way more reduced than if I'm listening to something like the Jazeera, where I have got a bigger margin of tolerance in terms of how it's performing. Understand? And this is where I think that the Phoenix Call really makes itself stand out. It's because for what it is, which is a smart implementation, but nothing crazy, no big DDs, nothing, no fancy BAs, nothing. The only unusual driver here is these microplanar drivers, but there's nothing truly unique or groundbreaking. It's just been very well implemented, very well tuned. And if the price tag is what I am expecting it to be, this is a no-brainer. This is very much a no-brainer. It's going to be an IM that will be like the 41T, or even the Cara, which are IMs that they play well. You buy them because they are safely tuned, and that's it. Period. End of story. Something like the AQ7 from AudioSense is an IM that you've got to be a little bit more careful, because you can go expecting one thing and you get the other. So this is definitely an IM to audition before you buy. The GQ 100. Personally, I think it's also a no-brainer IM. I think it's an IM that is, if you consider everything that's been done there as well, which is a very smart implementation of very basic technologies, nothing, out of this world, it's a no-brainer for the price especially. But okay, fine, audition it. The Phoenix Call needs no auditioning, in my opinion. The Phoenix Call is just get it. If what you are looking for is an IM which has got excellent detail retrieval, excellent technicalities, excellent timbre and tonality, a good musicality, a good sense of organicness with good detail at the same time, well built, and a price tag which is not too heavy on the wallet, it's a no-brainer. The Oud, is an IM that, however much I like it, however much I love, it's a difficult IM to recommend, because it's just out of context with the current market prices. And the 10th anniversary, honestly, is an IM that, again, I firmly believe if what you want is a well executed hybrid that plays tribrid that plays really, really well, because that's the reality. The EST execution here on the 10th anniversary is faultless. I've said it before in my review of it. Honestly, I have not heard to date under $1,000 a better execution of ESTs. I have not heard. I'm not saying that there won't be, but personally, I have not heard an execution of ESTs under $1,000 that's better. The one that I have heard that was better was significantly more. One was $2,400 and the other one was $2,500. So you have to spend that kind of money to go and find an EST execution which is more polished up than this, right? Anyway, guys, I think that's enough. I've talked a lot. I'll just show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. All right. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the CELEST Phoenix Call. Let me just take away these graphs that I have here so that I show you what we need to see, which is the Phoenix Calls graph. And as you can see by the Phoenix Calls graph, you have straight away, like I mentioned in the review, this big bump here on the mid base, which then it's going to bleed into the mids and it's going to mess up the mids and this and this and that. And honestly, no, that's not what happens. This emphasis on the base here matches very nicely what we then get on the mids and the highs. As I said, it's got this pinna gain which peaks there at 1.5 to 2k, 1.7k more or less. But then maintains itself very much flat and plateaued across. Nice extension past 10k. These little blips here in the response, nothing in terms of it being noticeable as aggressiveness or sibilance or harshness or anything of the sort. No, honestly, perfect execution for me, and in my opinion, perfect execution. The first diagram that I'm going to show you now straight away is the diagram of the graph rather of the 10th anniversary, and as you can see, very, very similar. So they've also tuned those two 6mm drivers in the same manner, which you could think, okay, it's gonna, no. The biggest difference that you have here between the two of them is that the pin again as well, although it peaks relatively early, it's just at a lower level, okay, and then basically maintains as well, very much similar to the Phoenix Core, except for this area around 5.5 to 7 kilohertz, which you have this dip but nothing, and then apparently less extension past 10k. But when you actually listen to it, they sound both of them sound faultless. Very good technically, very, very, very good technically, and as I said already before, the 10th anniversary is for me the best EST implementation I've heard under $1,000. For me personally, it is. Anyway, that is. Next one, I'm going to show you now the Geek World. So let me take away this one, the Geek World. There we go. Geek World. because it has more drivers in terms of the bass, it's tuned to be at a lower level, but in reality it does have a little bit more bass than the Phoenix Call, a little bit more bass, not much. It's just more energetic across this whole range here of the mids and upper mids and treble, and it is noticeable that it is more energetic. And ultimately, like I said, it's this balance. While when you actually look here, this seems outbalanced, the peak of the one and the peak of the other area of the frequency spectrum, and everything comes across as very balanced, with perhaps only, like I said, the male vocals sounding just a little bit less engaging as the female vocals. On the Geek World, what happens is we have a definite emphasis on the mids, upper mids and treble, and it can possibly lead to some fatigue after a while. For me personally, I didn't have any of those issues. I enjoyed listening to it for a long period of time, but then again, I'm becoming deaf, so that could be an issue or the reason. Okay, so let's get that out. Next one now I'm going to show you is the Chimera Oud. The Chimera Oud is the complete opposite of the Phoenix Call. Relaxed. The bass is not, however, as relaxed as it seems. Yeah, it's got more than enough energy in the bass and weight and presence to keep up with the bass of the CELEST. Mids are perfectly executed. It's the upper treble and it's above 5K where you see that it loses out to the CELEST. In terms of its detail, how can I explain this? For this price, like I was saying, for this price you expect more. And the way they tuned it is just to be very relaxed, very mellow, very fatigue free, and that's what you get. So if you look at it in that way, there's no comparison possible. If you look at it in terms of how it was executed for what it was meant to be, faultless. I mean, the Oud is faultless. It is not one of my favorite IMs just for the sake of being one of my favorite IMs. There's a good reason for it. Okay, that's the Oud. The next one I'm going to show you now is the AQ7 from AudioSense. And the AQ7, as I said, not only does it peak earlier in terms of its spin again, but it's very lean in the bass, very lean. And that's leanness in the bass doesn't help out in maybe camouflaging some of the B8 tonality or B8 timbre and metallicness that you get, because there's loads of extension, there's loads of detail. I mean, you can see, I mean, there's loads. It's just ultimately will fatigue you because it sounds, you notice more that B8 timbre more often than what, in my opinion, you should be noticing it. And finally, the last one here is the Jazeer, the Flame, or the 41T, whichever way you want to call it. There we go. Again, the 41T follows very much what we get in the Oud. I mean, if I actually put the two together, you see what I mean. They are very similar in the terms of their graph. Very similar. They have been tuned to be very relaxed, very chilled out. You can see. I mean, the red line is the 41T. The black line is the Oud, and they are very identical. Even in terms of the overall detailed retrieval and soundstage and just technicalities, even they are very similar. The Oud edges out in just being that little extra more polished in the way that it does things. If that justifies the price, well, only you can say. That's the reality. But one thing is for sure, the Phoenix Call is, in my opinion, a very well tuned IM. It sounds the business. It sounds way above, and it plays way above its price point. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you to go outright and buy it, although I think it's a no-brainer purchase personally. If you do have the opportunity to listen to it first, just to make sure that it is what you want, or it is what it fulfills your requirements. But I'm very confident, very much like I was confident with the Jazeer 41T and recommending it outright, as it was a good IM for the price. It played flawlessly. I mean, initially you could have had it for $139. I mean, $439, there was very little or nothing that even came remotely close. Yes, fair enough, you had the SoundRhyme SR5, but I always thought the SR5 was the opposite. While the 41T was more musical, the SR5 was more clinical. And with regards to this here, I could say that this and the geek world are more or less on the same thing. The geek world will be the more clinical, the more technical inclined apparently. However, it loses out in its musicality to the Phoenix Call, and the Phoenix Call doesn't give anything away in terms of its technical capabilities. So you could kind of say that's the comparison there. All right, and that's it, guys. As always, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. And again, let me just repeat this so that this is perfectly clear. This is not so much me wanting to ascertain a clear winner here, because all these IMs are very, very good. It was more of me trying to position, okay, the Phoenix Call with regards to other IMs, and so that you can have a more wiser, a more well established decision on what you want to get if you do not have the opportunity to actually buy it. All right. Anyway, you take care now. Bye bye.